and welcome to the Mindset Rx'd podcast, a podcast for functional athletes who want to gain the champ's mindset. My name is Tom Foxley and I am the founder and head coach at the moment. I think that's probably the best way to put it, of Mindset Rx'd. And today's show, and actually before I discuss today's show, I probably have to say, it's about to be a huge thunderstorm here in London, and so you may hear some noise. You may even see me getting distracted by some flashes of lightning. And secondly, it is incredibly warm in London and muggy, and apparently London flats are insulated to quite possibly the highest standard ever, meaning that this flat is like an oven at the moment. And because of that, I've had to open up the window. So if you can hear background noise like trains going past, a few airplanes like there is now, children screaming, or just another murder on the streets of Bow, then that is why. So if there's any background noise, I can only apologise, but otherwise I'd be disgustingly sweaty and horrible, and I wouldn't be able to concentrate, which is probably the best way to put it. So today's show, I want to talk to you. I'm actually gonna do like a little snippet of the Mindset Rx coaching certification. I want to take you through the very first slides that I give to the athletes and the coaches who join the Mindset Rx coaching certification for two reasons. Number one, because I think it'll give you an amazing perspective. Actually, three reasons. Number one, I think it'll give you an amazing perspective on what it's like to be in the coaching certification, and like what that's like. Number two, I think it will help you become a better athlete if you're becoming a better athlete, or if you're a coach, just to give you a better idea of what it is mindset, and where do we start with this process. And thirdly, because I think that you should really come on board the Mindset Rx coaching certification. If this is a podcast you enjoy and you listen to it frequently, you're obviously here for a reason. I think the coaching cert is a huge piece of the puzzle, and it's everything that I think that people need to know for the basics of mindset. And the basics makes it sound like it's low level. The fundamentals of mindset, because when we really understand the fundamentals of anything, and this is a point that carries so far, when we really understand the fundamentals of anything, we can apply it in much more detail. When you really go in depth, there's, I think it was Masashi, and this is the most arrogant thing. I hate it when people say, I think it was so-and-so who said, that I'm going to say that right now. I think it was Masashi who said, he who sees deep sees wide. So basically, the deeper the knowledge you have of one subject, or the more that you see the principles at play that in one subject, the more you'll see the principles that are true across all subjects. So therefore, by going deep and really understanding one thing, and mindset being the best one of those to understand, and your own drivers and human drivers, the further down into that, the more true knowledge you have of this, the better we can apply it to the rest of our lives and the rest of what we do. So yeah, hopefully you'll understand this. And then obviously, like I said, thirdly, I'd love for you to come aboard the Mindset Rx coaching certification. It's by the time this comes out, you'll have like 4 days left to capitalize on the early bird discount. It's July 31st, which is the early bird discounts end. But anyway, shoot me an email at tom@mindsetrx.com if you want to take part in that. So tom@mindsetrx.com if you want more information. Skip back a couple of episodes as well, because I talk about it. But anyway, this is from the first phase, and this is actually the very first slide, or the very first slides of the very first portion or phase of the Mindset Rx coaching certification. So I'm giving you access directly to the highest quality coaching that I provide. And this is where we start. We start with working with the coaches on themselves. And I've spoke about this a bit before, but for a person to teach mindset, they've got to know what it's like to be a beginner. They've got to know what it's like to be under the vulnerability of coaching, or like of being coached, sorry. They've got to understand what it's like to be in that position of like, oh fuck, I don't know where I'm going with this. It's a really important place to be. And then secondly, because like it just upgrades your mindset to such a high degree that I want the guys and girls who go through the coaching cert to really truly have their mindset in the best place possible before commencing the rest of the coaching cert. So I just need to check that I'm still recording, which I am, which is good news. So I'm going to go into the first slide. So this is module 1, phase 1, module 1, which is awareness and perspective. And there was the first flash of lightning for you guys. A phenomena literally useless on audio. Anyway, awareness is the first piece of this. Wherever we start with mindset, we have to generate awareness. We have to see the internal landscape. We have to be continually aware of it. We must understand it, and we must see it with absolute clarity, because we essentially, the whole process of mindset is, why am I doing the things that I'm doing? What makes athletes do the things that they do? What makes me do the things that I do? And how can I change that? How can I make them better? Or how can I do more of it? Like, why do I do the things I do? And the issue here, and we've got to also draw awareness to the wider kind of the macro level side of awareness too. Let's draw awareness to the issue of mindset itself. The thing is, and so many human beings do this, the thing is, we value the output over the input. So we start off thinking, okay, I want to get stronger, so I'm going to look at strength plans to get stronger, which makes sense. Like, it's the logical step, but that's the out. Like, we start to believe that our output of getting stronger is the true output, but the output really is our own personal behavior. And we've got to begin looking at what creates that behavior to get us there. So we've got to understand that with strength programs, there's no point looking for more, to get stronger, there's no point looking for more strength programs unless your mindset is in the right place to execute it to begin with. The same with nutrition. If you're self-sabotaging in nutrition, then we've got to understand why you're self-sabotaging, because otherwise a plan is going to be completely useless. Like, it's not that you don't have enough knowledge, because you know what you should be doing, otherwise you wouldn't know that you're self-sabotaging. You know that you should be doing the right thing, but you just don't know how to make yourself do the right thing. And then the same with positivity as well. You can read all of the self-help books, varying and sometimes crap though they are. You can do all the journaling. You can do all the meditation practice if you want to go down that. You can really go full into depth with the what. You can go fully in depth with this. I'm going to have to pause this, sorry, just for a second whilst I do actually close the window, because all the rain and all the wind is coming into the flat. Excuse me just for a moment whilst I do that. So as I was saying, you can have all the kind of the what or the how-to in terms of mindset even, and you can seek positivity, you can seek more perspective, but unless we're first aware of the issue that mindset needs to change first, we have to change mindset. Unless we're aware of that and we accept that, it's not going to change the outcome at all, because I personally have followed hundreds of different programs in different areas of my life, but it's never worked. And I'm sure you have too. Like, if even like, let's take this across all different domains. If you are a business person, then you might have tried certain programs that you could try to implement into your life or to your business, and they didn't work. If you are a coach, you might have gone through different learning styles, through different programs to up your knowledge, but for some reason you don't implement them or you don't finish the course. If you're an athlete, of course, you might have followed blog programming. You might have someone doing your or your programming for you, and sure, results are starting to get there, but they're nowhere near where they should be because you continue to self-sabotage. So we have to understand that mindset is at the very, very beginning of this. And we first will have to generate the intense awareness of our beliefs behind this and our actions around it, and also our language. Where most people go wrong is they see their behaviors and they think, okay, I have to change my behavior. And change your behavior, yes, absolutely you do, because you're trying to change the output. But we don't question why we are performing the behavior. It's like, okay, so I'm behaving a certain way, but why am I behaving that way? Why am I doing the same things over and over again? Why even am I the person that I am? Why am I the athlete that I am? What needs to change here? And what we need to understand is that our worldview is the thing that creates the behavior. The way that we see the world, our beliefs about us, our beliefs about the world as a whole, our beliefs about humanity and training and nutrition and mindset and recovery, our beliefs about that are the things that dictate our behavior, and ultimately the beliefs about ourselves and what we are capable of. Those are the beliefs that dictate your behavior. So we start to question again, okay, so where do my beliefs come from? If beliefs cause my behavior to change, or let me put this way, behavior is only ever a direct result of beliefs combined with evolution, or beliefs combined with genetics. And you're not going to change your genetics. So we've got to look at beliefs. So how do we change beliefs? Well, first of all, we have to understand that, like I was saying then, they come partially from evolution. Like, they come from 4 types of influence, basically. All of them begin with an E. The first one of these is evolution, like I spoke about. Like, you're not going to overcome millennia of evolution. You're not going to overcome from almost the origin of time itself. Like, you are not going to battle with that. So evolution is what it is. Like, some people are hardwired to, like, human beings are hardwired to be a certain amount negative. Human beings are hardwired to perceive threats more highly than they actually are, or to put them on an appearance higher than they actually are. There's a bunch of evolutionary strategies that humans have developed which do not serve us, and a lot serve us, but a lot do not serve us right now. And then we have 3 other areas. Let's go for experience first. So what you experience in life, and I don't mean like your education, because like let's go into experience actually a bit more. Your experience is basically whether you succeed and fail in relation to the tasks, like your experience specific to the task that we're talking about. Okay, so that's one big part of them. The second one is your education. So what you're this is the third one. Your education is what you're explicitly told about the situation, about life as a whole, about anything else that bleeds into this that has similar sides, about anything you're explicitly told that you come to believe as the way the world is set. And then we have also, on top of this, the environment. So this is much more subtle. So in the opposite way to education being what you're explicitly told, environment is what you're implicitly told, what you pick up from everyone else, what you ascertain from the way everyone else acts. Like the biggest one and the most significant one here is obviously parents and the primary caregivers, but also your spouse, your schooling, your friendship group, like the environment you're in, your culture, the culture that has produced you. Okay, because we're a big part of our culture. So we've got to understand that these 4 things create our beliefs. So how do we continue to become aware of our beliefs? That's the important thing. But firstly, we have to understand a bit more about beliefs. The first thing here is that your beliefs are mostly subconscious. You're not even aware of your beliefs. There's studies that I speak about the whole time, which essentially show that you do not know why you're doing the things you do. There are evolutionary patterns inside your brain, and the way your brain is set up, that mean that because if you had to think about this kind of shit, you would not be able to compute the rest of the stuff that you're going on. You'd be like, it's the same way as like breathing. Like your actions, you are so far into your subconscious, because if you had to think about it, like as I'm doing this, I'm wandering from side to side. I have a stand-up desk, I walk about. If I had to think about my foot placement, it would be too much. If I had to think about like the way that I'm breathing, if I had to think about the way that I'm balancing, it'd be too much. But on top of that, we have drivers in terms of our behavior on a much deeper level. Like, just think about the need to procreate. That's a huge one that's driving us the whole time, that we are animals. We cannot get away from this. And because of this, we have subconscious beliefs that are so deeply ingrained that we're never going to be aware of them. But then we also have them about about like our potential as well. So we've got to think that, okay, I don't believe I'm good enough in some ways. Like that's a belief that a lot of people have. We don't believe that we're good enough, but that for most people is so far down in the subconscious that bringing it up is going to be hard work. And we've got to understand these beliefs are acting intensely on every action we have, but we are very rarely, if ever, aware of them until we bring them up to the surface. They're mostly uninvited. They're mostly things that we haven't selectively chosen. They're assumptions we make about the world. So we draw from incomplete data and we say, that must be the world, the way the world works. Our subconscious mind, a very clever, intelligent subconscious mind, sees a few things, puts them together, and 2 and 2 suddenly makes 5. Like it draws out. So it's essentially wrong. But because they've worked in some situations, or because it seems to be true for the stupid part of our minds, we believe them. And some great examples of this as well. Let's just look at CrossFit as a whole and what the world was like before CrossFit and the way that the world was kind of around before CrossFit. So if we go back to bodybuilding, you had to be big and you had to be strong. But if you did any kind of cardio, you'd lose your gains. Same with flexibility. If you became flexible, you couldn't be big at the same time because big people were muscle bound. We know this is a belief that is completely wrong. Then we look at the aerobic capacity as well. And let's actually touch on the 4-minute mile as well. The 4-minute mile was considered impossible, physically, physiologically, humanly impossible to run a mile in less than 4 minutes. It was considered the fact that you'd die if that was the case. But because of those things, human performance wasn't pushed to the place it was now, where there's CrossFit athletes snatching 130, 140 kilos and then going out and doing a sub-6 mile, and we're about to get the best demonstration of that ever in the upcoming CrossFit Games. So because of the belief that we couldn't do the same thing, because of the belief that we couldn't be aerobically fit, powerful, strong, anaerobically fit, flexible, and all the other domains of fitness, we couldn't have all of those at once. We didn't do that, and human beings were left behind. But this also happens on a very personal level too. And if you believe that you're never going to be good enough, you stop just short of your threshold. If you believe that you can't get any stronger, you never get any stronger because you find your subconscious mind figures out ways to self-sabotage. Okay, and we've got to understand this. And then your potential as a whole is limited by these beliefs that you have. We've got to understand these beliefs before we start to change our outcome. We've got to become aware of these beliefs, and this is where awareness comes into it. So how do we change these beliefs? Well, first of all, we become aware, like I was saying. We shine a light on them. We see them with clarity. And the first exercise I talk about is and I'm not going to give you the full detail on this, but I will touch on it quickly because otherwise this podcast is going to be even longer than it already is. And I can tell the fact that I'm about a third of the way through the slides and I've been going for 20 minutes. This could be a long one. So this is what I call hearing your inner athlete. And for 5-10 minutes a day, we try and stream your consciousness out onto paper. We pick out bits. We don't analyze as we're writing. We don't judge as we're writing. We don't try and filter out or bias or make seem nicer our words. We just stream our consciousness out on the paper. It's almost like, imagine you're like talking to a very, very good friend and you're just like, finally I can open up. I can really let my true feelings come out, and I'm not going to judge them. It'll be very hard to see these sometimes. Sometimes there'll be small things, but we got to understand that you have to get these out onto paper. We don't want to analyze them yet. And initially, what we do is we do this well outside the gym. So we don't do it in the gym time. We do it in the first few minutes of waking up. And why do we do this? Because to change our stories, to change our beliefs, we first have to hear them. And by hearing them, you begin to learn what our stories are. By reflecting on your words and seeing it down on paper, it's like, oh shit, this isn't a kind way to be with myself. Because we so often we are such dicks to ourselves. We talk to ourselves in ways that if anyone else spoke to us, we would never speak to them again. Yet we live this voice in our head over and over again. Excuse me, I must just have a sip of beverage. So we need to begin to learn your story. So a few things happen with this. Number one, we hear nothing. We start writing, it's like, oh, there's nothing there. And we get very frustrated. If this is the case, don't worry, practice happens. Just begin with the phrase, I feel. Secondly, we hear everything and it's like, oh shit, I'm fucked. And we become overwhelmed. Or thirdly, we're like, oh, what's the point of doing this? This is some kind of hippie bullshit. I don't need to be doing this. And we become discouraged. In all three of those cases, give it time. Time is one of those things that will enable you to get the hang of this habit. It's just like squatting for the first time. I know I overuse this analogy, but just like squatting for the first time, we need to practice it. We need to feel it. So perspective is the second piece. Let's talk about perspective. So that's how we generate awareness. And then how do we generate perspective? So think back to influence and then begin to look at the negativity in there. So look at the way that so much of our culture is a very negative experience. Look at the fact that humans are hardwired physiologically and evolutionarily to be negative. So this all presents stimuli in front of us that automatically become obstacles instead of opportunities, which leads us to feeling shit and leads us to make no progress. And I like to view perspective as an arch. On one side, we have positivity, or as a series of arches, let me say. On one side, we have positivity, and on the other side, we have negativity. And so many of us spend our time too far in the negative. And don't get me wrong, negativity is a very useful tool to use at the right time. As with positivity, neither of them should outweigh each other though. And if you think about, if you think about that arch on with one side positivity and like the positivity starts pushing up, if we're overpowered with positivity, we see the world without perspective because everything's too good to be true. And similarly with negativity, if we see the world with too much negativity, it's just an awful place to live in, and we never make progress because what's the point? It's again like both sides of this. We end up almost nihilistic, like, oh, what's the point? Like there's no meaning here. Like what's the point of trying to get better? But if we have equal amounts of positivity and negativity in our subconscious mind and our beliefs, we see the world as it exactly is. And when we see the world as it exactly is, we can make progress. We can take action because we stop seeing with bias. We stop seeing with these filters. We stop seeing with a distorted view of the world. And when we have perspective, we see the world as it exactly is. And when you have perspective and when you see the world as it exactly is, you can take the appropriate action to fix it. So perspective not only works on negativity and positivity, but it works on timelines, past and future. It works on a bunch of other aspects that I won't go into, but for today we're going to talk about positivity and negativity. So when you have perspective, you have power, is essentially what I'm trying to say. So we have a very simple exercise here, an exercise that I call an AMRAP. So we're probably, most of you are familiar with an AMRAP, as many reps as possible. Sorry, I'm getting texts and oh fuck, I'm dropping my phone at the same time. Let me get rid of the notifications. Done, gone. Hopefully more won't come through if you can hear that. Anyway, perspective. This is how we keep perspective. So as I said, we're mostly negative. Most of us live in the negative, but this also works, this tool, to take us back from being overly positive. And let me continue my thought on AMWAP. So we're familiar with as many reps as possible. This is as many wins as possible. We're trying to, in a very short time, generate some intensity around the wins that we have during the day. So we simply go through, okay, what moved the needle today? What did you do? I have no idea why my computer's making noises, so I'm sorry, and it's doing again. I'll take some steps away from my laptop. Anyway, so we have the AMWAP. This is simply 5-10 minutes daily, preferably at the end of the day, because immediately before bed, because then your subconscious can dwell on this as you're sleeping. And we think, what moved the needle today? what were the small things that I did today that helped move the needle? And this is a really important exercise. The way that all my athletes finish every single day is with an AMWAP, a variant of different types. And because this can get mundane, what we do is we vary up all different types. So sometimes we do like one win, like one win for quality. Give me your biggest win. Think of this as like your 1 rep max for the day. And then we have an AMWAP, like I said, so like a 5-minute AMWAP. 5 minutes giving as many wins as you can. Then we have, like, just to continue the cheesy CrossFit theme, 6 wins for time. You've got to give me 6 good wins as quickly as you can. Bring them up as quickly as you can, so your brain's working quickly and it understands exactly what you did. And by doing this, you begin to gain perspective, because if you're overly negative, it starts to bump up and you go, oh, you know what? I am moving forwards towards my goals. It starts to reprogram that subconscious mind. And if you're overly positive, if you're a positive patty and you're pretending the world's much better than it is, you get to the end of the day and like, fuck, I didn't actually train. I know I'm saying that I'm training, but I didn't actually train. So there's not as much there as there should be. But finding the wins is very important regardless. So as I said, it reprograms the subconscious mind and it conditions the mind to shift our perspective. Sometimes you'll get no wins. Sometimes you'll think, my wins aren't good enough. They're crappy. I saw someone else got hit their 1 rep max snatch today, and my wins aren't good enough. I'm just doing the same old shit every day. And then, of course, like you think, which is very often, like I've been doing this exercise for 2 days now. Why haven't I got a change yet? Which is the equivalent of someone saying, look, I've been doing CrossFit for a month now. Like, I should be at the CrossFit Games by this point. Obviously you're not. So you need to understand that this takes time. We're trying to overcome decades worth of neural pathways, and trying to change that takes time. It takes a long time. But know this: it takes about 7 years for every cell in your body to be to be replaced and renewed. So within 7 years of doing this consistently, it will change. It will change. And I know 7 years is a long time, but it's very, very important that we do that. So that, folks, that is the end of the first module on this. I'd go into much more detail, or no, actually, I'd go into a slight bit more detail on the exercises. But frankly, it's Friday evening. I'm about to go out for some dinner, and I don't want to keep you, because I've already been talking for almost half an hour anyway. I don't want to keep you too long. But if you have, I was going to sign this out. So what I usually do at this point as well, this is funnily enough, the neural pathways that I was talking about just then. I was about to say, if you have any questions, let me know and I'll get back to them in the Q&A. This is what I do at the end of each of these modules. We talk about them. You guys have questions about them. And then in the Q&A, which I record either live with you guys, or you guys put them up in a post and I read through them, I get more knowledge out, or you get more knowledge out of me, and I give you the exact answer that you're questioning about. Then, and like, because of that, we'll give you much more detail about the subject, and you get to learn quicker. You get your questions answered every single week by me, and also those exercises that I talked about, they're put in the group, so everyone goes through them, and I hold you accountable for this. Because if you're not held accountable, then we're not going to make the change. And there's a certain amount of hand holding that you guys will need when you undertake the Mindset Rx coaching certification. So what I'm going to say is this. I'm going to finish it off now, try and keep it under half an hour for you guys. But what I'm going to say is this, and it's very, very important. The Mindset Rx coaching certification is open, and it will be starting on August the 20th. The price of admission is £1,500, so 1,500 sterling, pounds, good old British money. But if you want to come on board before, and you want to get your deposit in before July 31st, that drops to £1,400. So it goes from a fraction, I'll do it in US dollars as well, it goes from a fraction of $2,000 to about $1,850. So it's a saving. And of course, I like $2,000 or £1,500. That's a fairly hefty commitment from you guys. So what I'm going to say is this: if you put down your deposit, we can spread out the remaining months or the remaining payments across up to, let's say, up to 10 months. And we'll make this work, because I don't want you guys to be out of pocket. I don't want you to have a significant substandard portion of living. Basically, if you're going to do this and it's going to change the way that you live your lives negatively from the amount of money that you invest, I don't want you on board. Like, I really don't want you. If you have to go into serious debt to do this, I don't want you to come on board. It's not the right time. But if this is the time that, okay, I can move forwards with this, I want to make it my future. I want to either become a Mindset Rx coach. You're going to have this, like this qualification in order to do it. And B, if you want to like implement this in your own coaching facility and your own coaching environment, then this is a great way to get Mindset Rx or mindset working for you. And then finally, if you're an athlete who wants to jump on board and just go full in with mindset, this is for you as well. So if any of those sound like you, if you want to be part of this, tom@mindsetrx.com. So tom@mindset.com. Shoot me an email with probably MRCC, Mindset Rx Coaching Certification, MRCC, as the subject line. Tell me a bit about yourselves and we can go from there. Until next time, I'll speak to you soon.